What if I told you that right now, at this very moment, you're living in a prison you can't see, defending walls that don't exist, and fighting to stay trapped in a cage that has no lock? You're not watching this video by accident. Something deep inside you already knows the life you're living isn't fully yours. Maybe it's that constant exhaustion despite having every modern convenience, or that hollow feeling even after getting everything you thought you wanted. Here's the shocking truth. Plato exposed this exact mental imprisonment 2,400 years ago, and not only are we still trapped in his cave, we've actually decorated it with smart TVs and called it freedom. You see, society needs you blind. It needs you chasing shadows, mistaking noise for knowledge, and confusing busy for meaningful. Because the moment you see through these 7 lies I'm about to expose, you become impossible to control. These aren't conspiracy theories or philosophical abstractions. These are the actual mechanisms keeping you scrolling instead of living, consuming instead of creating, and performing instead of being. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how modern civilization has weaponized ancient deception techniques to hijack your mind. But I'm warning you now, once you see these lies, you can't unsee them. Your comfortable ignorance will be gone forever. Think about this. Every advertisement you see, every social norm you follow, every "that's just how things are" belief you carry, they're all shadows on the cave wall, and you've been programmed to believe their reality. The validation addiction, destroying your peace? Programmed. The constant feeling that you're not doing enough? Programmed. The fear that keeps you in situations you hate? Programmed. But here's what makes this different from every other video you've watched and forgotten. I'm not just going to show you the cage, I'm going to hand you the keys. And unlike those feel-good videos that make you temporarily motivated, this philosophical revolution will fundamentally rewire how you see everything. If this video saves even one person from wasting another decade in mental slavery, then it's worth making. So if you're ready to support content that actually changes lives instead of just entertaining them, hit that like button right now. Not for me, but as your first act of rebellion against a system that profits from your unconsciousness. And subscribe with the bell on, because this channel is building an army of awakened minds. And trust me, you want to be part of what's coming next. Now, let's expose the first lie, and it's probably the one you're living right this second.
The cave we never left.
You know, there's something deeply unsettling about realizing you've been living in Plato's cave this entire time. 2,400 years ago, this Greek philosopher described prisoners chained in a dark cave, watching shadows on a wall, and believing that's all there is to reality. Here's the kicker, though. We're still there, just with fancier shadows. Our modern cave has Wi-Fi, smartphones, and endless entertainment, but the mental imprisonment remains exactly the same. The chains aren't made of iron anymore. They're crafted from beliefs, habits, and societal deceptions so sophisticated that we actually defend our own captivity. Think about your daily routine for a moment. You wake up, check your phone, consume curated reality through social media, work within systems you never questioned, and repeat. Each notification, each headline, each societal expectation adds another layer to the shadow reality you've accepted as truth. The philosophical wisdom Plato shared isn't some dusty academic theory. It's a living, breathing diagnosis of our collective illusion. What makes this mental imprisonment so effective is that it feels comfortable, even necessary. You've been taught that questioning these shadows makes you dangerous, weird, or unsuccessful. The most brilliant part of this societal deception? You're not forced to stay. Unlike Plato's original prisoners, your chains are psychological, maintained by cognitive manipulation so subtle you mistake it for free will. Every institution, every social norm, every "that's just how things are" statement reinforces the cave walls. But here's where it gets interesting. Once you understand the cave's architecture, you can't unsee it. The shadow reality starts revealing its puppet strings, and suddenly those comfortable lies you've been living begin to feel like the mental chains they've always been. This isn't about conspiracy theories or paranoid thinking. It's about recognizing patterns of social conditioning that have existed since civilization began, just wearing different masks. The truth awakening Plato described starts with a simple question. What if everything I believe about success, happiness, and meaning has been carefully designed to keep me compliant? That question alone begins to loosen the first chain. And once that first chain falls, Well, that's when your journey toward consciousness liberation really begins. But first, let's examine the most pervasive lie that keeps millions grinding themselves into dust.
Lie number one, your worth equals your productivity.
Here's a truth that'll shake you. You've been programmed to be a productivity machine since childhood. What do you want to be when you grow up? They asked. Never, who do you want to become? Or what kind of life do you want to experience? This lie runs so deep in our collective illusion that taking a day off feels like moral failure. You're not a human being anymore. You're a human doing, and your value gets measured in output, achievements, and how much you can produce before you burn out. The ancient philosophers would laugh at our modern slavery. At least historical slaves knew they were enslaved. Look at how this mental imprisonment operates in your life. You feel guilty relaxing, anxious during vacations, and define yourself by your job title. Social conditioning has convinced you that busy equals important, that exhaustion equals dedication, and that your calendar's fullness determines your life's value. But here's what Plato understood that we've forgotten. A human being's worth exists independently of their productivity. You were valuable the moment you took your first breath before you ever produced anything. This philosophical wisdom directly challenges everything modern society teaches about success and meaning. The insidious part? This lie creates a treadmill you can never leave. No amount of productivity ever feels like enough because the goalpost keeps moving. You achieve one milestone, and immediately society presents another. Your authentic living gets sacrificed for metrics, KPIs, and performance reviews that measure everything except what actually matters: your peace, your relationships, your growth as a conscious being. The system needs you to believe this lie because workers who know their inherent worth are dangerous to structures built on exploitation. They might start demanding things like work-life balance, fair compensation, or, heaven forbid, meaning in their labor. Breaking free from this particular shadow reality requires a philosophical revolution in how you see yourself. Start by asking, if I never produced another thing, would I still have value? The answer is yes, but your conditioning will fight you on this. You'll feel lazy, worthless, unproductive. Those are withdrawal symptoms from a lie you've been mainlining since kindergarten. The consciousness liberation here isn't about becoming lazy. It's about recognizing that your being matters more than your doing. But wait until you hear about the second lie. It's the reason you keep buying things you don't need with money you don't have.
Lie number two, happiness lives in tomorrow's purchase.
You're chasing a ghost, and the ghost is wearing designer clothes. This lie whispers that happiness is always one purchase away. The next car, the latest phone, that course that'll finally change everything. The cognitive manipulation here is genius because it exploits your brain's dopamine system, turning you into a consumption addict who mistakes the brief high of buying for actual joy. Plato's cave allegory perfectly captures this. You're watching shadows of happiness, products, on the wall, while real happiness, inner peace, connection, purpose remains invisible behind you. Modern slavery doesn't need whips when credit cards work better. Consider how this mental chain operates. You scroll through social media, see someone's perfect life, and immediately feel inadequate. The solution? Buy something to fill that void. But here's the trap. The void isn't real. It was manufactured specifically to sell you the cure. Every advertisement, every influencer post, every limited time offer is designed to make you believe your current life isn't enough. This societal deception has turned shopping from a necessity into therapy, except this therapy never heals anything. It just deepens your dependence on external validation through material possession. The really twisted part about this collective illusion is how it hijacks authentic desires. You don't actually want another pair of shoes. You want to feel confident. You don't need the latest tech. You crave connection and relevance. Marketers understand your philosophical wisdom better than you do. They know every purchase is really about identity, belonging, and meaning. So they sell you these intangibles wrapped in tangible products. The truth awakening happens when you realize no external object can fill an internal void. That's like trying to satisfy hunger by looking at pictures of food. What makes breaking free from materialism so difficult isn't the stuff itself, it's what the stuff represents. Every purchase is a vote for who you think you should be, based on shadows of success society projected on your cave wall. Your consciousness liberation from this lie starts with a simple but radical act. sitting with discomfort instead of shopping it away. When you feel that urge to buy, ask yourself, what am I really trying to purchase here? Love? Security? Identity? Once you see the man behind the curtain, the magic trick loses its power. But the third lie might be even more insidious because it uses your deepest human need against you.
Lie number 3, validation defines your reality.
Let me tell you something that'll twist your mind. You're living in a reality shaped entirely by other people's opinions. Every decision you make gets filtered through an invisible committee in your head, asking, what will they think? This validation addiction has become so normalized that we've built entire platforms dedicated to likes, hearts, and thumbs up. You're not living your life anymore. You're performing it for an audience that's too busy performing their own lives to actually watch yours. Plato knew this mental imprisonment well. That's why he said the unexamined life isn't worth living. Think about the last time you posted something online. Were you sharing authentic living, or were you crafting a shadow reality designed to harvest approval? This lie runs deeper than social media, though. It's in the career you chose to impress your parents, the clothes you wear to fit in, the opinions you express to avoid conflict. The social conditioning here is so complete that genuine authenticity feels like rebellion. You've been programmed to believe that your worth fluctuates with every external reaction, turning you into a validation stock market where others control the prices. Here's where the philosophical revolution gets personal. Whose life are you actually living? Because if your choices depend on anticipated reactions, you're not the author of your story. You're a character in everyone else's. This cognitive manipulation keeps you small, predictable, and manageable. Society doesn't want authentic individuals. It wants compliant actors who play their assigned roles. The moment you stop seeking validation is the moment you become ungovernable, and that terrifies systems built on conformity. Your truth awakening threatens the very foundation of social control. The escape from this mental chain requires something that feels like social suicide at first, disappointing people on purpose. Not maliciously, but authentically. Start saying no when you mean no, expressing unpopular opinions you actually believe, wearing what feels right regardless of trends. Watch how quickly the validation committee in your head starts panicking. That panic? That's your consciousness liberation beginning. You'll discover that most people are too trapped in their own validation loops to even notice your rebellion. But here's the thing, even comfort itself has become a lie we tell ourselves.
Lie number 4, comfort equals success.
You've been sold the most dangerous lie of all, that the goal of life is to eliminate all discomfort. Look around. Everything in modern society promises to make life easier, smoother, more convenient. But here's what they don't tell you. Comfort is where dreams go to die. Plato understood that growth only happens in the space between who you are and who you're becoming, and that space is always uncomfortable. Your philosophical wisdom gets dulled by cushions of convenience until you can't even feel the mental chains anymore because they're lined with velvet. This collective illusion manifests everywhere. You avoid difficult conversations to keep the peace, stay in dead-end jobs for security, and choose familiar suffering over uncertain possibility. The cognitive manipulation here is brilliant. Society has reframed cowardice as wisdom, stagnation as stability, and fear as prudence. You're taught that smart people don't take risks, that maturity means accepting limitation, that real adults choose comfort over growth. But look at anyone who ever changed the world. Did they prioritize comfort? Your shadow reality keeps you believing that safety equals success while your authentic self slowly suffocates. The truth nobody wants to admit? Comfort is a prison decorated to look like paradise. Every convenience that removes struggle also removes strength. Every shortcut around difficulty shortcuts your development. You're becoming weaker, softer, more dependent on systems designed to keep you compliant. This isn't about toxic masculinity or unnecessary hardship. It's about recognizing that consciousness liberation requires friction. Muscles grow through resistance, minds expand through challenge, and souls evolve through adversity. Your modern slavery isn't maintained through suffering. It's maintained through comfort that makes you too weak to escape. Breaking free from comfort addiction means intentionally choosing discomfort before life chooses it for you. Cold showers, difficult conversations, learning new skills that make you feel stupid, these aren't punishments. They're practice for authentic living. Start small, but start today. Skip a meal, walk instead of driving, Have that conversation you've been avoiding. Each voluntary discomfort is a vote for freedom over security. The philosophical revolution in your life begins the moment you realize that your comfort zone isn't protecting you, it's shrinking you. But wait until you hear how knowledge itself has become a trap.
Lie number 5. Knowledge without action is wisdom.
Here's something that'll sting. You're drowning in information while dying of thirst for transformation. You've read the books, watched the videos, attended the seminars, but your life looks exactly the same. This lie has turned personal development into personal entertainment, where collecting insights replaces creating change. Plato would be horrified at our modern approach. We've confused knowing about philosophical wisdom with actually being wise. You're not growing. You're just becoming a more educated prisoner in the same mental imprisonment you've always known. The societal deception here is subtle but devastating. Knowledge without application becomes a sophisticated form of procrastination. You feel like you're making progress because you're learning, but learning without doing is just mental masturbation. How many life-changing books have you read that didn't change your life? How many profound insights have you collected like trophies while your actual behavior remains untouched? This cognitive manipulation keeps you busy without being productive, moving without progressing, thinking you're awakening while you're actually just dreaming more elaborate dreams. Look at the self-help industry. It's designed to keep you consuming, not transforming. If one book actually solved your problems, you wouldn't need the next 100. But here's the shadow reality nobody talks about. Information has become a security blanket that protects you from the discomfort of actual change. As long as you're working on yourself by consuming content, you don't have to do the hard work of actually working on yourself. Your consciousness liberation gets postponed indefinitely while you prepare to prepare to prepare. The cave prisoners at least couldn't see the exit. You can see it, but choose to study it instead of walking through it. The truth awakening here is brutal. You already know enough to completely transform your life. You don't need another book, another course, another guru. What you need is to act on the 1% of what you already know. Pick one thing, just one, and actually do it consistently for 30 days. Not write about it, not plan it, not optimize it, do it. Watch how your mind creates elaborate excuses, how it suggests you need more research, more preparation, more perfect timing. That resistance? That's your mental chains fighting to stay intact. But the sixth lie might be the most isolating one of all.
Lie number 6. You're separate from others.
You've been programmed to believe you're alone in a world of 7 billion strangers. This lie of separation runs so deep that helping others feels like sacrifice instead of self-interest. Modern society has weaponized individualism, turning natural interdependence into weakness and cooperation into competition. But here's what Plato understood through his philosophical wisdom. We're all prisoners in the same cave, watching the same shadows, believing the same lies. Your consciousness liberation is directly connected to everyone else's, but the system needs you to believe otherwise. Think about how this mental imprisonment operates daily. You compete instead of collaborate, judge instead of understand, isolate instead of connect. Social media promised connection but delivered performance. You're more connected than ever while feeling lonelier than previous generations ever did. This collective illusion has turned neighbors into strangers, communities into networks, and relationships into transactions. The cognitive manipulation here is particularly cruel because humans are wired for connection. So denying it creates a pain that drives more consumption, more distraction, more desperate attempts to fill the void. The shadow reality gets even darker when you realize that your separation is actively maintained. Every label, every category, every us versus them narrative exists to keep you from recognizing your fundamental unity with others. Politics, race, class, nationality, these aren't just identities. They're prison cells designed to keep you from realizing that your liberation depends on theirs. The authentic living you seek can't happen in isolation because you're not actually isolated. You just believe you are. When you hurt others, you're literally hurting yourself. When you help others escape their caves, you weaken the entire system of caves. Here's where the philosophical revolution gets radical. Your personal awakening is incomplete until it becomes collective. Every truth awakening you experience but don't share is a key you've found but haven't used. The system's greatest fear isn't that you'll escape. It's that you'll help others escape too. Start small. Share your struggles. Admit your failures. Show your authentic self. Watch how this permission gives others permission. Your vulnerability becomes their strength. Your truth becomes their key. But there's one more lie that keeps even awakened people trapped.
Lie number 7, change is dangerous.
This is the master lie that protects all the others, the belief that change equals catastrophe. You've been conditioned to fear transformation more than you fear staying trapped. Better the devil you know, they say, but what if the devil you know is slowly killing you? This mental chain is the strongest because it uses your survival instincts against you. Plato's cave prisoners would rather keep watching shadows than face the painful brightness of reality because at least the shadows are familiar. Your modern slavery continues not through force, but through fear of what freedom might cost. Look at how this operates in your life right now. You have dreams you won't pursue because failure seems worse than regret. You stay in toxic relationships because loneliness seems scarier than abuse. You remain in soul-crushing jobs because uncertainty feels more dangerous than certain misery. The societal deception here has reframed cowardice as wisdom, playing it safe, being realistic, acting responsible. But here's the truth, awakening they don't want you to have. The biggest risk is taking no risks. Your shadow reality feels safe, but it's actually a slow-motion disaster disguised as stability. The cognitive manipulation runs even deeper. Society has created entire industries around managing your fear of change, insurance for everything, guarantees for nothing, safety nets that become spider webs. You're so busy protecting yourself from imaginary futures that you're not living in the actual present. The philosophical wisdom here is paradoxical. The more you try to control change, the less control you have. Life is change, growth is change, consciousness liberation is change. By fearing change, you're literally fearing life itself. You're a river trying to be a lake, wondering why you feel stagnant. Breaking this final mental imprisonment requires the ultimate act of philosophical revolution, embracing uncertainty as friend, not enemy. Start viewing change as adventure rather than threat, disruption as opportunity rather than disaster. The authentic living you seek exists on the other side of the changes you're avoiding. Every time you choose familiar suffering over uncertain possibility, you vote for your own imprisonment. But here's the secret. Change isn't actually dangerous. What's dangerous is believing this lie while life passes you by, while your potential withers, while your authentic self suffocates under layers of false security. The real question isn't whether change is dangerous, it's whether you can afford not to change.
The Philosopher's Rebellion.
Now comes the moment of truth. You can see the lies, but seeing isn't escaping. The philosopher's rebellion isn't some intellectual exercise you do in your head. It's a daily war against everything society programmed you to believe. Plato didn't just think his way out of the cave. He turned around, saw the fire creating shadows, and chose the painful journey toward real light. Your consciousness liberation demands the same courage, except your cave has better entertainment, more comfortable chains, and fellow prisoners who'll call you crazy for trying to leave. This mental imprisonment only ends when you stop being a philosopher in theory and start being one in practice. The first act of rebellion. Stop asking permission to be yourself. Every time you filter your truth through social acceptability, you strengthen your chains. Start speaking your actual thoughts, wearing what feels authentic, pursuing what genuinely calls to you. Watch how quickly the system tries to pull you back, through guilt, through fear, through other prisoners telling you to be realistic. That resistance isn't a sign you're doing something wrong. It's proof you're doing something right. Your authentic living threatens the entire shadow reality because if you can escape, others might realize they can too. Here's what the philosophical wisdom actually looks like in practice. You wake up and choose not to check your phone immediately. You sit with yourself instead of rushing into distraction. You question why you want what you want, whether your desires are yours or programmed. You start saying no to things that drain you, even if saying yes would be easier. You have difficult conversations instead of comfortable lies. You choose growth over comfort, truth over harmony, authenticity over approval. Each choice is a small revolution, a tiny crack in your cave wall. The truth awakening accelerates when you realize you're not alone in this rebellion. Throughout history, philosophers, mystics, artists, and revolutionaries have fought this same fight. They left maps, strategies, warnings about the journey ahead. But here's the crucial part. Their maps aren't your territory. Your personal philosophical revolution will look different because your cave is unique to you. The societal deception you're fighting has been customized to your specific weaknesses, fears, and desires. Generic solutions won't work. You need a personalized escape plan, and that starts with brutal honesty about which lies you're most attached to. The hardest chains to break are the ones that feel like jewelry.
Building your new reality.
You've broken the chains, seen through the lies, but now what? Here's what nobody tells you about consciousness liberation. Escaping the cave is just the beginning. Now you have to build a life based on truth in a world still running on lies. This isn't about becoming a hermit or preaching from street corners. It's about creating an authentic living that inspires others without forcing anything. Plato returned to the cave not to drag people out, but to be living proof that escape was possible. Your new reality becomes a beacon for other prisoners who are ready to see. The practical construction starts with environment design. You can't maintain truth awakening while surrounded by lies, so you must consciously curate your inputs. This means unfollowing accounts that trigger comparison, avoiding news that profits from fear, and distancing yourself from people who need you to stay small. But here's the philosophical wisdom. This isn't about judgment or superiority. Those still in the cave aren't your enemies. They're your former self. Compassion for their journey, even as you protect your own growth, becomes essential. You're building a bridge, not burning one. Your daily practices become sacred rituals of reinforcement. Morning meditation isn't just trendy wellness. It's how you remember who you are before the world tells you who to be. Regular solitude isn't antisocial. It's where you digest experiences without external interpretation. Physical challenge isn't just fitness. It's how you prove to yourself that comfort isn't your master. Creative expression isn't just a hobby. It's how you birth your authentic self into existence. Each practice is a deliberate act of philosophical revolution, a choice to live by your own values rather than inherited programming. The ultimate test of your new reality? How you handle the pressure to return to the cave. Because that pressure never fully stops. It just gets subtler. Former fellow prisoners will test your resolve. Circumstances will tempt you back to old patterns. And sometimes the weight of swimming against the current will exhaust you. This is where most people fail. They escape temporarily, but eventually crawl back to familiar shadows. The difference between temporary awakening and permanent consciousness liberation? Building a life so aligned with truth that going back would feel like suffocating. Your new reality isn't just an escape from lies. It's a creation of something so authentic, so vital, so genuinely yours that no shadow could ever compare to its light.
The choice that changes everything.
So here you stand, at the crossroads between two worlds. Behind you lies the cave you've always known, comfortable, familiar, filled with shadows that at least make sense. Ahead stretches a path lit by uncomfortable truth, demanding courage you're not sure you have. But let me tell you something crucial. The fact that you watched this entire video means you're already different from the masses who scroll past anything that challenges their programming. You can't fully go back now. The lies have been exposed, the shadows revealed as shadows, and that nagging feeling that something's wrong with how we're living? Now you know you were right all along. The question isn't whether these 7 lies are controlling your life. We've established they are. The real question is, what are you going to do about it tomorrow morning when you wake up? Will you reach for your phone and dive back into the validation casino, or will you sit with yourself for 5 minutes and remember who you are beneath the programming? Will you chase another shadow of happiness through your credit card, or will you finally admit that no external purchase can fill an internal void? Will you keep exhausting yourself to prove worth you already have, or will you dare to be valuable simply by being? These aren't rhetorical questions. Your answers will determine whether this video becomes another piece of consumed content or the moment your real life began. Here's what I need you to understand. Breaking free from these lies isn't a one-time event. It's a daily practice of choosing truth over comfort, growth over safety, authenticity over approval. Start with one lie, just one. Pick the one that hit you hardest, that made you uncomfortable because you recognized yourself in it. Focus on breaking that single chain for the next 30 days. Don't try to revolutionize your entire existence overnight. That's how the system gets you back. Small, consistent acts of rebellion are what lead to philosophical revolution. And when you stumble, when the old programming kicks in, remember, even Plato's escaped prisoner had to adjust to the light gradually. You want to know the ultimate irony? The system that benefits from these lies is counting on you to watch this video, feel inspired for about 6 minutes, then go back to sleep. They know that most people would rather feel enlightened than actually be free. But you're not most people, are you? If you were, you wouldn't have made it this far. So prove me right. Share this video with one person who's ready to wake up. Not everyone, just one person who you know is suffering in their own cave. Subscribe and hit that notification bell, not because I need your support, but because you need a community of people who see through the same lies you're now seeing through. This channel is creating a philosopher's rebellion, one awakened mind at a time, and every single person who breaks free weakens the entire system of mental imprisonment. The clock is ticking, and every day you spend in the cave is a day of authentic living you'll never get back. The 7 lies will still be there tomorrow, working their manipulation, keeping billions blind and compliant. But now you have something most people will never have: awareness. And with awareness comes choice, with choice comes power, and with power comes responsibility. Not just to free yourself, but to light the way for others still stumbling in the dark. The philosophical wisdom of Plato isn't meant to be admired from a distance, it's meant to be lived, breathed, and embodied. So I'll leave you with one final question, the only one that really matters. Now that you can see the cage, will you choose to leave it? The door is open. The keys are in your hand. The only thing standing between you and freedom is the step you're afraid to take. Take it anyway.